Welcome back.
What up?
Y'all know who it is. This is Dust Off the Cartridge, Volume 3, Episode 14. I am your host, he who shall not be named, he who stands above all else, Metro Meta, and I am here with
Marcus Flowers, aka Flo, at one Marcus Flowers on all social media platforms, aka call me what you want, just don't call me lazy.
And we are so excited to be back recording in the podcast studio.
For sure. Back home base, man.
Back on home base, get our quality up. We're really trying to hit it hard this summer. Let's get started because there's a lot of news to break down. Because just yesterday, breaking news: Game Freak.
Right.
Did you hear about this story?
No, I did not.
All right. So this is what happened. Producer of Game Freak. Let me get his name out. We really need to start loading these first. But let me get his name out there. So a producer of Game Freak, his name, Olia, a veteran programmer, and he was the director in Guguri, which released originally on Steam, but is now on Switch, I believe. It was sort of like a Metroidvania type of game.
Okay.
He said that they have two production teams. Team number one works on outside platforms.
Right.
And non-Pokemon games. Team number two only works on Pokemon games, and he said that it was really invigorating to be on team number one because you got to experiment more and you got to test more. And he said that what that means is that Game Freak is a company is prioritizing gear projects, which are non-Pokemon projects, which is production team's number one, more than Pokemon in general. We are always trying to create something that is equally exciting and more exciting than Pokemon. So my question to you is, because as some people might not know this, but Nintendo doesn't actually own Game Freak. They release on other platforms every once in a while. They're a second-party studio. Do you think Game Freak focusing less on Pokemon is a good idea?
I think Game Freak focusing less on Pokemon is a terrible idea. Just because if it's not broke, don't fix it. Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu was, when it released, it was the fastest selling Nintendo Switch game ever, and it was only surpassed by Super Smash Bros., which came out 3 weeks later. And so I feel like when you see something that high, when you see something performing that well, why would you want to take away from it? And it was in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, let's face it, it was a cash grab. And so my concern is moving on to Sword and Shield. Will the innovation be there for the Pokemon games? And this will potentially hurt it because starting a new franchise is hard, and if it's not dramatic, if it's not what's the word? Dramatic.
Eye-grabbing?
Yes. If it's not eye-grabbing enough, it's going to fail.
Yeah.
And it's just like Game Freak isn't known for anything other than Pokemon. And so I get why they're trying to create their own, which is a good thing, but at the same time it's like, why would you create something new when your bread and butter is doing amazing? And on top of that, since your bread and butter is doing well, just wait until after it's done. Because Pokemon Sword and Shield isn't going to have like DLC or anything like that.
They might.
Potentially, but typically Pokemon games don't really have DLC.
They have after games. They have some DLC. But what I would say is, one, Let's Go and Pikachu wasn't even a critically acclaimed Pokemon game.
No,
and they've been pretty much doing the same thing for the past few years. So people want more innovation in that sector. And to also be fair, the few games that Game Freak has put out as new exclusives or as games that aren't Pokemon, they're not that good. Like, they don't look like games that are really eye-grabbing, that are going to be franchises that are going to stay around. Like, Guguri looked like just another bog-standard Steam Metroidvania game.
Right.
And I don't even think it sold as well as anything that's been on Steam. And their next game, Town, which we'll talk about a little bit later, it looks good. I wouldn't say it's gonna be a temple franchise without any help from Nintendo.
For sure,
it's gonna need major help from Nintendo to help get a major push behind it. And even then, I'm not even sure the concept itself. The concept itself is good. We'll talk about it later, but I don't know if this is what you want to put your eggs in.
No, I don't think it is either.
If they want to put Pokemon off their back, they're gonna have to come up with something that is going to be able to keep them at their same level.
For sure.
Yeah. But moving on, Marcus, what do you know about loot boxes?
So loot boxes basically like the VC in 2K, correct?
Yeah.
Am I
Well,
wrong on that
I
assumption?
don't know how 2K works. But the way loot boxes...
It's microtransactions.
Yeah. They're randomized microtransactions, which the internet hates. It has been alluded to and called many times as gambling.
Right.
And predatory towards both kids and certain adults. So a congressman, a Republican congressman, his name is...
Josh Haley.
Josh Haley proposed a bill, and we've seen these bills before. One passed in Belgium to ban the sale of loot boxes to children because we have to protect the children.
Right.
And he sat down with veterans game journalist Jason Schreier, a very respectable game journalist, to talk about how he believes that this is a good ideal. And this, of course, even today comes even on the heels where they just announced that gaming is now a disease, a mental disorder that someone can have.
Yeah, for sure.
So these are very big things that are going to happen. And he's even talked about adding pay-to-win mechanics into the game. Now, of course, he's gotten a lot of flack from especially EA, which, if you don't know, most of EA's money comes from the Ultimate Team in FIFA Ultimate Team, which is a loot box level gaming. So what comments do you have on this?
So basically, just reading over his comments, he wants to stop loot box because he feels like it creates an addiction. And so when you have like incentives like loot box, when your character can get increased and you have that, and even when you can buy it monetarily, that creates an addiction, such like a push and pull. And it's even just like such as like hard drugs or even something like that. So I do think it is a step in the right direction. I feel like when it comes to Hallie, I just feel like the way the United States government is set up right now, video game addiction is not high on their priority list when it comes to just like issues they need to solve or bills they need to pass. So I feel it is a step in the right direction, but until more leaders and until more politicians and until more even like statesmen, even if it started at like the local level, once states start talking about it, then they'll get the momentum it needs to actually succeed on the national level.
Yeah, because we've seen bills like this. Famously, they tried to ban video games once in it was in the 90s because of like Mortal Kombat and stuff like that.
For sure.
So it will be difficult for him to get that passed, but hopefully he will be able to do some good. We'll see what happens. We were speaking a little bit earlier about Pokemon Sword and Shield. So a contest winner for a Pokemon Sword and Shield design contest was caught cheating.
Right. Okay.
Which is actually a major problem in the Pokemon community.
I mean, look at the game. It's not surprising.
Well, most of it comes down to people hacking the 3DS and modding in Pokemon.
Well, that's always been an issue, even with like the Game Shark, and it gives you the unlimited rare candies.
Yep,
and you can raise all your Pokemon to level 100. Easy.
Well, with Pokemon, what they tend to do is they will max IV out the Pokemon.
Right.
And then you can max level it and get the perfect Pokemon without having to do the RNG grinding that comes with Pokemon.
Sure. Okay. So yeah, let's talk about this. I also have a Pokemon question for you after this.
What's your question?
Well, we'll get to it after this.
All right. So getting to the Pokemon contest winner, earlier this week, this is of course reported to by Kotaku, Japanese clothing company, I can't pronounce that, Uniqlo announced Chinese artist Lei Wen Pai had won the UT Grand Prix contest to design a Pokemon t-shirt. He was set to win $10,000 and have his design featured in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Set to come to Switch later this year. Uniqlo says when Pi had been disqualified for failing to adhere to the contest rules. Uniqlo, the Japanese global apparel retailer, today announced that his disqualification, the Grand Prix winner, and another finalist in its Pokemon-themed UT Grand Prize 2019 design contest, after learning that the designs in question were not in accordance with the terms of the competition. The company said in a statement, Uniqlo was not awarded the grand prize to another errand or sell the merchandise featured the design. And you can see it online. WinPie design included a symbolized window of Gyarados sitting above a trio of Magikarp. Magikarp is a faithful in the fans' mind. Also, the evolution from weakness to the mightiness is like a miracle, he told Uniqlo. And a possible reason the design was disqualified may be that it wasn't the first time WinPie had used the design for a commercial purpose, which is against the rules of the competition. According to the translation of the now deleted post on the Chinese social media website, WinPo by website Nintendo Soup, WinPie had previously stole some phone cases with the artwork on it, and the design then ended up on a t-shirt. WinPie claimed that its subsequent appearance on the t-shirt was due to people pirating his work. In the following up post, when WinPie said that his explanation the matter to Uniqlo. So he cheated.
Well, I wouldn't say he cheated just as much. This is very important when it comes to just posting your content on social media. Is that you don't have creative control over it.
Yes.
So, because once you put it out there, people can do whatever they want on it, and you can huff and puff. You can huff and puff and talk about intellectual property, but if you don't actually have that intellectual property, you don't have a voice in it. So when you post like your picture on Instagram, when you post like your artwork on Instagram, it's literally no longer yours. It belongs to these social media services. So it's really like the name of the game. I don't know if he knew what he was doing, but like, I mean, I'm sorry, but it just like, that's the way it goes. Like, you lost. Like, and you have to be like smarter in what, you'd have to be smarter. Like, just like, if you really want to make money off of your creative, off your creativity, off your creation, don't put it on social media.
Don't. Or just be smart about it.
Now,
you said you had a question about Pokemon. What was
yes.
your question?
My question is, so I was on Twitter last night, and I believe I showed you a few tweets.
Yeah.
And it was, do you think Ash Ketchum was a good Pokemon trainer? Now, be completely 100.
Well, no.
Okay, and why do you believe that?
Well, there's multiple. I mean, it's not new ground. People have been pointing out for years that Ash has always used the wrong Pokemon in battles.
Right.
And he never actually does any training. If you ever watch the TV shows,
right.
He's not exactly. They even send him to a Pokemon training school in Alola, which is like 9 generations in, or 7 generations in. So he's not very good.
I would say that Ash, somebody said that Ash was mentally disabled or was mentally challenged. And I was like,
say that.
I wouldn't go that far. But I would say Ash does suck as a Pokemon trainer. When he was facing Brock, who did he face Brock with? Pikachu. And if you know anything about Pokemon, Light Thunder does not do well against Rock. It's actually the opposite.
Well, they don't actually.
And so, well, even it's just like, Ash has been a Pokemon trainer for nearly 30 years. He still does not know basic matchups. And at this point, it's ridiculous. And he's also he has encountered Ho-Oh, Lugia.
He's encountered every legendary Pokemon.
And he has not thrown a Pokeball at one.
Well, they're a lot more OP in the...
Nah.
Well, what you also have to remember is the Pokemon anime, it came out in an era where the TV shows did not always match up with the games. Have you ever watched early seasons of Yu-Gi-Oh? Have you gone back to see those?
Yeah.
They don't follow the rules of that game at all. They don't follow those rules. I already opened that. But moving on, Call of Duty 2020, not 2019, that's Modern Warfare, again. Call of Duty 2020 is in trouble. So today, of course, veteran games journalist Jason Swire announced that Call of Duty 2020 is getting a change of the guard. when it was originally going to be headed up by Sledgehammer Games, who makes, of course, Call of Duty, and Raven Studios, who usually is a support studio, so this is going to be their first headliner. But due to development turmoils, Treyarch is going to take the reins, and it's going to be another Black Ops, which this will mark a change in the past few years, where they've had each studio have 3 years to develop a Call of Duty game between Treyarch, Infinity War, and Sledgehammer, with Raven helping on multiplayer. Right. So, and many people, this has had them to question, is Call of Duty starting to feel the brunt of not being on the cutting edge of gaming anymore?
No, I think it does. I think they are feeling that. I feel like they need to do a lot of what God of War did and just take a step back and reorganize. And I know it's a different type of game than God of War, but if you really want to stand out, I feel like it's best to draw yourself back as a franchise and just start fresh and start new with a whole new storyline. Just because another Modern Warfare, it's like that doesn't, like, how many more types of guns can you add? How many more?
Well, they've already gone to space.
Yeah, how many more layouts can you add? And so I feel like it's just going to take them stepping back instead of just like cranking out content back to back and all that.
Well,
it's going to take them to actually take a step back, breathe, and realize that you don't have to be. It's okay to take a step back and reorganize and readjust.
Well, I think one of the big problems that Call of Duty is running into is it is Activision's cash cow. And at this point, it's really the only game they make. Like, Activision Blizzard owns Blizzard. Blizzard doesn't make a lot of games. Blizzard makes a few really good games, and then it supports them over a few years.
Right.
And the only game Blizzard has coming out this year is WoW Classic. Activision, I don't even know what games. They make Call of Duty. That's it at this point. Activision does not make... the only games that Activision has been releasing so far has been remakes of old games. So if Call of Duty stops making money, I don't know what Activision will do.
Yeah, no, for sure. I completely agree.
But this is the thing that Activision has put themselves in. They didn't want to move on up. That's their problem. Let's go on to the next one. So PlayStation is launching their PlayStation Productions to make new video game movies. So I just wanted to do, Marcus, I know you don't know as many PlayStation franchises, but what are your, let's do top 3 PlayStation movies.
I would love to see God of War.
Alright.
I guess Red Dead Redemption 2.
They don't own that.
Oh yeah, they don't.
Just PlayStation.
Okay, just PlayStation. So God of War.
You don't know.
Spider-Man.
They already make Spider-Man.
Yeah, I know. So it's just like weird. No, I actually would just like to see a solid God of War game.
I actually know a few more PlayStation movies. Horizon Zero Dawn. I'd love to see a movie based off of that one. A game that's not out yet, but I want to see is Ghost of Tsushima, made by Sledgehammer Games. They are. It's a samurai video game, so I'd love to see just like a modern version of a classic samurai movie. I think that'd be pretty nice to see. But let's move on. DreamHack has announced their $100,000 women's CSGO event. Marcus, what are your feelings on this?
No, I think it's super dope. Just because when it comes to just video games and women, they are very neglected. Just because they don't, they're very sexualized in video games. So just giving them the platform to be able to really highlight themselves. Just because there is very talented women gamers who necessarily do not get to shine because of their male counterparts being so out there and being so active. And if a woman was that active, they would definitely be chastised. So I think this is a great decision to do.
I like the idea of highlighting female players, getting them in there, just because you need more women in the video game community as a whole, and just more people in the community means more money coming in, means
Yeah,
more
for
video
sure.
games, means
And
better everything.
When you're involving other women, when you're involving another group, that's good for you.
Yeah, definitely. So we didn't get a chance to talk about the Super Mario 2 Maker Direct. Just your overall impression.
I'm not a big fan of Super Mario Maker 2. I'm sure it's gonna be great, but it's not my cup of tea. I was not impressed with it. I get it, but I just was like,
I think it will set YouTube on fire.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
It will definitely set YouTube on fire.
And
let's go on to
is that okay? All right.
Yeah, let's go on to announcements. Our first announcement is from Playdate. They're the makers of, I think it was Firewatch, and they announced a brand new handheld. It's a crank handheld. It's gonna be quite expensive. It seems like more of like a gag platform, but it is black and white and it has a crank and it will support different games that will come out in seasons. I like the ideal of just having like fun little gaming platforms. Like Marcus, do you remember Tamagotchi?
Yes.
Like things like that. I feel like we're missing that in 2019.
I feel like a Playdate is cool, but in 2019, why would I need that when I have my phone? That's already a supercomputer that has games on it. That if I would want to download a black and white game, I can find a black and white game to download. I don't necessarily need to spend another $300, $400 on a platform that will basically have limited content, because with this, there's not going to be a whole lot of studios pouring money into Playdate, which is something that you said yourself is a gag. And so I just think, I don't want to say it's a waste of time, but I do think that instead of creating something like a Playdate, they need to instead create the content that would go on your phone. Just because, like, my thing is, why would you pay for another pocket device when you have a pocket device at the touch of your hand?
Well, it's definitely gonna be more of a collectibles, but we'll see how it does. I think it's pretty fun to see. It gives me some nice nostalgia fun. So big news came out a couple of weeks ago. Sony and Microsoft decided that they're gonna team up on cloud gaming, which is really great, especially because PlayStation does not have the best cloud gaming infrastructure.
Yeah, for sure.
And Microsoft doesn't. Now, what they said is that basically Sony wants to use Microsoft for their cloud gaming infrastructure, and if I can find it, let's see.
Okay, so the partnership effectively allows Sony to tap Microsoft's technology to help with areas that the company has struggled with. Sony has taken heat for years over slow download speeds, something that typically hasn't plagued Xbox owners. Using Azure data centers and eventually moving over to Microsoft Cloud Solutions should allow Sony to focus on its own platform rather than trying to solve technical issues. Sony will also tap Microsoft's artificial intelligence services to improve the user interface in its products. I feel like this is great for Sony, but it's bad for Microsoft.
Well, let's go down.
Okay.
So what does Microsoft get out of this deal? Aside from adding a major customer to its already very profitable cloud business, the company will gain access to Sony's image sensors, which it plans to use to create new intelligent image sensor solutions. The companies appear primarily focused on how to improve the functionality of the sensors for enterprise customers through customer solutions, and improved kinetic style systems, for instance, are also possible. So basically,
it's like, I feel like it's still like they still get the short end of the stick.
Well, basically what Microsoft is trying to do is there are several. Sony's not as good at cloud gaming, but Sony does have a lot of consumer technologies that Microsoft wants to get to, so you can get a deal with that. But you also have to realize that Microsoft's business deal is changing compared to other companies.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the future, Microsoft is looking less towards turning the Xbox into something you buy and more as a platform. We've seen that with them pushing crossplay. We've seen that with them even mentioning or even just rumors of Microsoft putting an Xbox Live on Switch and taking control of that ecosystem. So in the future, Microsoft doesn't want to just be a platform where you go to buy games. it wants to be a place where you go to do anything. So they're trying to get Xbox on any device, any platform. So this is one of their first steps towards getting more Xbox devices and more Xbox connection into a major platform like Sony. And again, they get the added bonus of they get discounts and early access to the different advanced and consumer technologies that Sony is already making. So that's to keep in mind. But let's switch over to esports.
For sure.
Having fun with this. Overwatch is still on a break. We're not till stage 3. But they are doing their anniversary event. Lots of cool skins. I like the Diva skin, the Mei skin. Y'all seen it. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But I did want to highlight this. Guguri, an off-tank for the Shanghai Dragons, made the 2019 class of next generation leaders on times.
And that just goes to prove the impact that esports is having on the world now, that a person of that magnitude can get on a platform that large. It's going to show, it's on to prove the true power that esports is having. It's finally starting to put the world on notice that esports is a game. It's not just a game, but is content that's here to stay.
Yeah. I also wanted to just a shout out to this. Overwatch is making trading cards. They're coming out, I think it was June 2nd.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to get my hands on some of those. Shout outs to anybody who gets their hands on Pine and Guguri. Those are the two I'm gunning for. So if I can get me some of those. But Marcus, you wanted to talk about the combo tournament.
This weekend is going on right now. It is the Combobreaker Tournament, which happens in Illinois. And it's basically a bunch of combat style games. We have Mortal Kombat 11, of course, Tekken 7, Street Fighter 5 Arcade Edition, Dragon Ball Fighter 2, Soul Calibur 6, Killer Instinct, Skullgirls, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. And so basically, once again, we are a big fan of this guy. Shout out to Sonic Fox for winning the Mortal Kombat 11 auction tournament, and it is happening right now. So we do not know the results as of yet, but we will be doing a breakdown of that tournament soon. But I think it was just it's a super cool tournament. I just found out about it. It's been going on for years, but Combobreaker. So yeah, it is on Twitch and YouTube through NetherRealm, through the NetherRealm channels.
So definitely check that out. Support your local fighting game community.
Yeah.
Also, NBA 2K League, Marcus.
So just a few things in the 2K League. We are entering week 7, and of course, one of the big highlights of the past month was Warriors Gaming winning the Turn tournament, and so congratulations to them and Mavs Gaming. They created their own 2K League history by becoming the first franchise ever to have an 8-0 start. That is the best start in 2K League history. Although we are only in its second year, it's still a shout out to them because they took down not Celtics Gaming. I think Celtics Gaming. I could be wrong, but no. So shout out to the Mavs for doing that as well.
Definitely. Big esports news. So Tfue has started suing FaZe Clan, a major esports organization. He was claiming that they were taking advantage of him, and it even came out that in his contract, FaZe Clan took an 80-20 split on all merchandising that he did.
Nuts.
That
is nuts.
For their part, FaZe Clan has said that while that was in their contract, they never took that. I believe they said that they've only made about $60,000 on Tfue, who has made a lot of money being an esports fan. And this has put a big eye on, of course, the budding esports scene. I know here, at least me, myself, I have pushed for more, I would say, regulated esports gaming. I'm a fan of Overwatch League, where there's people in charge to make sure that these players aren't being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
We've heard Dante in San Francisco Shock talked about how he was on an esports team for 3 months and got paid once. So it's definitely a sore spot for me.
And it was kind of weird because the FaZe Clan, who's their director or whoever their main guy is,
owner,
he was tweeting. He talked about how he got Tfue's logo tattooed on him and how hurt he was, and that's really just it goes to like workers' rights, and that's something that's not very highlighted about in the esports arena, just because it's not relatively new, but it's still new when it comes to workers' rights and fair compensation.
Yeah. And
so they're still like, I want to say at least a few decades behind actually getting it right, but hopefully it comes sooner and later. So just because situations like this are going to continue to keep happening until they get proper guidance, proper legislation, so that they will be held to the same standard that Fortune 500 companies, that nonprofits, that all businesses are held to not only in the United States but the world.
Yeah, I think it comes down to everybody loves the like Wild West era of things. Yeah. But you forget like how many people get screwed over during this era. But let's go into our big boss moment, the boss battle for tonight, E3. Of course, y'all already seen the Dust Off the Cartridge DLC about my breakdown about everything. Keep your eyes out. I made that list. Marcus, let's just go down this list and talk about what games come out to you. What are you looking at for E3?
So the two games I am looking forward to the most that will be at E3 is Pokemon Sword and Shield. Just because as a longtime Pokemon fan and getting back into the franchise again, I'm looking forward to that next step. And just hopefully that they will be able to build on the momentum that they had this past year with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. I'm hoping we get more Pokemon revealed and even another trailer. We get
now on the Pokemon reveal. Right. I will ask you something, and this has been a bit of a debate in the Pokemon community from generation to generation. The debate is whether or not you want Game Freak to release beforehand, announce every new Pokemon in the game, or do you want them to hold some Pokemon back?
I would rather them hold Pokemon back, just because that's part of the surprise of the game.
I would say I like the idea of surprise.
Right.
Then again, I also like the idea of getting in the game and knowing what Pokemon I want, so I can already match out my team.
For sure.
But that's just a debate people have had, in the comments. Right? What do you believe? For me, my top three that I'm looking at are, of course, Cyberpunk 2077. I'm so excited for that game and what CD Projekt Red is doing. Pokemon, and I have to say...
also Marvel Ultimate Alliance, just because I already pre-purchased that. So, looking forward to that.
And I have to say, I'm looking out for Town. Now, Marcus, do you remember the trailer for Town?
Yes.
Do you remember the pitch?
Yeah.
For those of you guys who don't remember, the pitch for Town, that is a Japanese-style open-world game where it's just one town with a bunch of villagers in it, and each villager has different skills and abilities that you use to help take down monsters.
Right.
It looked very interesting. It looked like very much of a kid game, but there's an old game you probably don't remember. It's an old turn-based game. Well, it's not old. It's like they don't make it anymore. It's called Fossil Fighters. It's on the 3DS. And other than Pokemon, it's one of the few games that I've played a lot on the 3DS, and Town gave me a lot of those same vibes,
right,
which is why I was excited for it. So I'm excited to hear more about Town. And other than that, the only other game I want to hear more about is Astral Chain by Platinum Games.
Right.
It's really going to be the action platform that I want to play, and we've seen a lot about it, but I want to get some more detail on, is it open world, is it stage-based, stuff like that. But that's our E3s, so we probably won't be able to stream it, but we'll do some live reactions.
Yeah, we'll do our in the field probably.
Yeah, we'll do some in the field
right after E3, so be on the lookout for that.
All right.
But yeah, no, that's it. So we've been cranking out content over here. Check out first the Aisha Curry podcast that we put out last week. Also check out our Black Mental Health Importance podcast that we put out. It's called Free Yourself. We have our weekly Super Flow Bro that just came out. You have this episode. We are actually, after this, we are gearing up for Denver Pop Culture Con.
And there will be a Flow Bro vlog for this.
Yes, and so we're going to have a lot of content come out for that, so be on the lookout for that. Make sure you are following us on all our social channels so that you are up to date. Follow us on Twitter at 26andG. Follow us on Instagram at 26 and Glencoe Media Network. Follow us on Facebook at 26 and Glencoe Media Network. And of course, follow us on YouTube at 26 and Glencoe Media Network. Follow me on all social platforms at One Marcus Flowers. Follow Morgan on all social platforms at MetroMeta26. And until next time, peace.
See ya.